Hello, hello. Today we are going to be talking about client attraction whenever it comes to the gene keys and human design. I'm going to be going live on TikTok as well as we talk about this, but I'm really going to be covering three main things that are super important for you to know about your gene keys whenever it comes to running your online business and like getting people to really feel you in your content, feel you in your videos, and like there's something about you whenever you lean into these gene keys that people become like this moth to the flame. You don't even realize it, but like whenever you speak from your special gifts and your special abilities, people can feel that from you and they are pulled in. They really, really love this kind of stuff and they want to learn more from you. And it's funny because these gene keys, a lot of the times, they're the things that we almost overlook as our superpowers. We don't like always give the time of day to, but really once you learn these gene keys and you learn the things that make you different, everything starts changing in your business because you're like, okay, actually, I am the master at this thing. Actually, this is what I love to talk about. Actually, this is what I'm really, really good at. And so, whenever we start showing up in the energy of like, this is what I'm really, really good at, that's when everything starts to change and people can feel it and they want to come into your sphere. And so, even though I taught the gene keys, like this took me a while to really comprehend, even though I learned this stuff, I was teaching this stuff, it was almost like peeling back the layers of an onion for me to really grasp this and really start using these gene keys and the human design aspect of it to the highest degree. And just in case you are brand spanking new to the gene keys, this is a deep dive into your human design and astrology, and it tells you the things that make you an absolute unicorn in your business. And I teach the gene keys through the lens of business. So you may come across other people who talk about gene keys that talk about the relationships or talk about the shadows or talk about all these different things. For me, I have always been obsessed with being an entrepreneur. I moved across the country, oh God, it's almost been 5 years ago, to become a lavender farmer, to create a product line from scratch. And so, hello. And so, like, entrepreneurship is just something that bubbles up inside of me and makes me excited. And you'll see, I'll bring this through whenever we're talking profile lines, but why it's so important to listen to our profile line with how we show up in our life and in our business. And yeah, definitely speaking to the entrepreneurial side makes sense because I don't know about you, but I'm a line 5. So if you are a 2-5, if you are a 3-5, if you are a 5-1 or a 5-2 in your gene key or human design profile, you will understand this on a very deep level where it's like, hey, speak about the things that you need to speak about. Like, speak about the things that you actually care about. Just because you can solve all the problems doesn't mean you have to. So it was the same with me. It was like, just because I could talk about all of the aspects of the gene keys doesn't mean that I need to, because honestly, what excites me is how you can use it to attract clients and make money in your business. Like, that's what it comes down to for me. That's what I enjoy. Because for me, whenever I found these gene keys, it was like activating this higher calling. It was like this feeling of there's that call to greatness. And I had kind of been twirling my thumbs, just like sitting on my couch, waiting for the universe to come knock on my door and be like, Stephanie, it's time to get on the internet and it's time to like make courses and it's time to teach the things that you know. But I thought everybody else and their mom was the expert but me. And so even though I would like study all of this stuff and I would like learn and absorb all this information, I was like, who am I to think that I should get online and teach that kind of stuff? And it's really been a blossoming over this past year, like year plus since I've learned my gene keys. Oh my gosh, we're already in August. But like year plus, like year and 3 months since I've learned my gene keys, that I started applying them, and like everything changed in my life in such a short amount of time. And this is coming from a background of teaching spirituality, of teaching shadow work, of teaching emotional, everything that goes on in your body, of doing like psychic readings for people. Over all of those years, I never had the needle move the way that I did once I learned these gene keys. And I've said it before, but it was kind of like being in this tornado of spirituality where it was just kind of like whipping around, like trying to fix my past, trying to do all of these things and fix what was wrong with me, when really like these gene keys opened that emergency exit door and we're like, hey, let's get the hell out of here. Like, you've done enough. You've healed enough. Let's see what you're capable of now. Like, let's go out there and teach other people. And so For me, that's how it was. I feel like whenever you're drawn to this information, whether you're listening to this live, you've heard my videos before, you follow me on Instagram, like whenever you're drawn to this information, I feel like it is whenever you are on the precipice of greatness. And it's one of those things that I came across this information whenever I had my lavender business. I was making the all natural products, but like my heart wasn't in it anymore. But like everything inside of me was like, hey, like this is a really cool job. You're making natural products, you're selling them at the farmer's market. But really, that was just a stepping stone for me to get where I am today. And so I had to be willing, whenever I learned these gene keys, to let go of that other business. I actually sold that company to my employee and learned how to sell a company and then went full pull into this work with helping other business owners and entrepreneurs use their gene keys, use their human design to create courses, to have fun with their content, and to make money just doing the things that they love. So, little backside on me, but and how I got into these, but the reason why I say, like, if you're coming across this now, you're on the precipice of greatness, is because like I lived and breathed this. Like I remember whenever I would learn certain gene keys and it would be like, holy shit, like I'm playing way too small. It was like the hello McFly, like you have been hiding your light under a bushel and we don't have time for it anymore. And it's got nothing to do with like how old you are. Like my grandma is in her early 80s. My grandpa just passed away and back in February, and she's like just learned her human design. I told her all about it and her gene keys, and she's like living her best life now because she's like rediscovering herself, right? But it's not even about an age thing. It's about this awakening that like whenever you're ready to be like, I'm not gonna play small anymore, that's when these gene keys really come into your life. So yeah, for my grandma, it was whenever she's 83 years old and she's like learning to live a different kind of life now. But for you, it's right now in this moment. For you, it's I'm ready to bring the people in my sphere, bring the people in my circle that are going to pay me for the wisdom that I have, that I can make an influence on these people's lives, that I can get up on my soapbox. And these are the people that are like, hell yeah. Like I have been waiting for somebody to say that. Like, thank you for saying that. And if you're a line 5, you're going to understand this on a very deep level too. My new affirmation is I'm on the precipice of greatness. Oh my gosh. You are literally, Nicole, swimming in greatness. Like, the fact that you dove into that keys to content masterclass and we had that like one-to-one time together, that just like, that's such an initiation. Like that's such a sacred space to just like ignite all of your engines and just run with it in your business. Like you're already in the greatness. Like you, like whenever you got curious about this and you started, hey, Chris, and you started like watching my lives or hearing this stuff, that was you on the precipice, girl. You've already like jumped in and you were like soaring through the sky. Just so you know, like once you learn this, it's like you can't ever go back. Like nothing is ever the same. And so today I really wanted to cover a couple of things that I find to be very important about client attraction when it comes to the gene keys. And some of these you may have heard me talk about before in context. Like I had been talking about content a lot during the month of like end of June and all through July. But really, as we lead up to my Decode Your Keys course that starts mid-September, this is all about learning how to read the gene keys for yourself and your clients in your business. We're going to be talking about all the different facets of the gene keys, not just content. Of course, that is a part of it that I'm absolutely obsessed with. So like take this, what you need like for your content and run with it. But as profile lines in general, like how you can show up, like on video, the way that you do post, and just holding yourself in your day-to-day life that is going to make you an absolute magnet for the right people that want to work with you, right? So very first profile line, we got the 1. This is all about using that big brain of yours and giving other people the information that you gather. Like your intuition works very strongly. Like your little inner compass works through that big squishy brain of yours. Like you have logic, you have facts that the rest of us need, that like most people aren't willing to go get that information. So like you might be that person that's like constantly getting all the different books and learning more. But if you're not taking that information and recycling it, taking that information and speaking it through your point of view, then you are missing out on half of the fun as a 1, because you don't just gobble up that information for no big deal. Like you get that information because you're supposed to teach it to people in your own words. Ooh, thoughts on Gene Key 26. I actually have Gene Key 26 written down in this next section. After I talk about the profile lines, I'll be talking about the archetypes. So a little touch on Gene Key 26 before I continue with the profile lines. But the 26 is one of the first ones that I really fell in love with that was not in my own chart. And this is all about being the hypnotist and being really, really good at sales. Like inside of your cellular DNA is the capacity to be a kick-ass salesperson. I've seen this time and time again with entrepreneurs and business owners that just have that like Midas touch when it comes to sales. So I'll touch on that a little bit whenever I go into the archetypes because I have it written down. Does anybody else, like if you go live, do you ever have like a little post-it note? Like I'm such a big believer in having like the bones of what I like to talk about, and then I just kind of like intuitively riff from there. So if you're a line two, as we went from line ones who are all about like taking all this information and putting it into their own words, teaching what they learn, then the line two, we are more of a fly by the seat of your pants type of friends. Like we are the ones that are just kind of off doing our own thing, like interpretive dancing in the forest. And then we just like emerge and we're like, hey, I got something really cool to share. This is the way that I see things. And then you go back into your forest and you just kind of like do your own thing. Whenever you're aligned to, your intuition works. It's almost like that clairsentience, that just like knowing, and like you're probably like very intuitive in a lot of ways, but where the line one really has incredible intuition for, it's almost like they sniff out what's going to be successful for them, what it's going to be really like beneficial for them to learn so they can teach other people. The line twos are just kind of like this antenna that whatever comes through is going to come through. And so whenever it comes to people that are like line ones, they have more of the structure. That doesn't mean you always have to like play inside of the fence, but like you actually feel better having the facts. You actually like feel physically healthier. I know because my husband's a 5-1. Like you feel physically healthier whenever you have like the solid things to ground you, where the line twos are like, this is my interpretation of this thing, of these rules. And like, that's my magic. Like, I'm just going to show up with my magic and that's who I am. So whenever you're aligned to, when it comes to client attraction, you have to be willing to like put yourself out there in a sense of like, this is who I am. And like, I'm going to own my stuff. Like over on my Instagram, I love experimenting with this and playing with this in different ways in my business. So like one of my taglines in my Instagram, because I'm not this is really, really strong if you're like a 2-4 or a 2-5, but I'm a 5-2. And so like, and people that are 6-2s, like you respect this 2 still that's inside of you. But I love playing around with it, like on my Instagram, on the way that I post, like things like that. And so since I have that 2 in my chart, I put at the very top of my Instagram, it says, your rebrand genie. Like through the gene keys, I help you rebrand yourself. I help you like come alive in your business. And so I'm calling myself the rebrand genie. So whenever you're a 2, you got to be like, this is my title and this is what I do. So there's like no confusion there. Like you get to own what your magic is. So be aware of that. Like that's going to bring clients to you. If you're out there trying to live life like a line one and trying to be like, here's the facts, here's the logic, here's why I'm the one that knows all these answers, like it's just going to fall flat for you. It's not going to feel fun for you. And as well, the 2s are very aesthetically pleasing and more like artsy, passionate, where the line ones are really like grounded and make people feel safe and secure in like what it is that they're teaching. So we go into the line 3, and the line 3s are all about like, you are a human. If I hear like, I know I say it every now and again, but I get so bored with the term trial and error whenever it comes to line 3s, because I'm like, you're so much more than that. Like you have this incredible experience from the things that you live. And I like to see it more as like a groovy roller coaster ride than just about you always tripping and falling and being like, and that's the lesson I learned. It's like there's ups and downs whenever it comes to your life. And whether you're a 3 or not, like I feel like we can all relate to that. But whenever you're a 3, you get to like really make money from that thing. You get to really attract people by sharing those things that you learned. So like taking that thing, becoming the little alchemist of whatever crazy thing happened in your life and then sharing the lesson. That is going to be what calls people into your world. Like, there's a sense of these threes having just such a deep sense of humor that they feel so human to us, and they feel so relatable. Like, through your stories, through your lessons, through your little parables that you teach, you become very relatable and very much like where people gravitate towards threes for just being themselves, being like having a sense of humor about the things that they've navigated through, because like not everybody else is as bold as you whenever it comes to like sharing what it is that we've navigated through, but like that's the thing that makes you a magnet. And then I'm going to keep going through these. You've heard me talk about profile lines, but this is just like shining a light through them in a different way, especially like when it comes to client attraction. The number 4, the line 4, is all about this big squishy heart. So 1 was the big squishy brain, and the 4 is the big squishy heart. This is resonating so hard. Oh no. Yeah. Chris, aren't you a 6 too? I meant the 2 talk, but also don't 6s experience. Yeah. You experience the life as a 3 for your first 30 years. So like that hits the nail on the head. Both of those do. But oh yeah, I remembered. But it's one of those things with a 4, like when you have this big squishy heart, like you are all about building community. So like it's going to be really good for you to have groups, to have like even gatherings like this where you get on lives. It's going to be really good for you to reach out to other business owners and have collaborations. It's going to be really good for you to have Facebook groups and to have these things where you can have an influential voice in there, but also like bring people together in a really beautiful way. And so the 4s are like people really see you as a friend, but at the same time, like that influential friend, like they're really, really glad to be around you. They're really, really glad that you came into their life, and you almost feel like this big hug. So if my pearl is a 19.4, it's probably about meeting the needs of the community. Yeah. So anytime that I think if we were just looking at the 4s in general, which I know that you're like deep diving into it right now, Nicole, which is all about like the charity and stuff like that. But if we do just like take a step back and look at it as like a normal line 4, right? It's about like having all of these different kind of relationships. And actually that was a huge thing for me, Nicole, because in my pearl sequence, in that top up there, even though I'm a 5-2, I have like 3 different 4s in there. So I realized that of course, like 4 isn't my strongest thing, but whenever it came to my business, it was a pretty big deal. And so once I started reaching out to other people, that's whenever I had like a lot of opportunities come through where like clients came from old podcast interviews that I did that like I didn't even think twice about because I was willing to like reach out with other people. And so always keep that in mind if you have a lot of line 4 energy, or if you have a line 4 in a very prominent spot, that being this person that is friendly and that is like fun. And like I said, you're almost like this big hug to people. Like that's going to be very attractive for the people that are supposed to work with you, where they just feel like, oh my God, I'm in safe hands now. And so I love to utilize the different lines that are in each one of the gene keys as well. You know, our strongest is always going to be that profile line. So for you, Nicole, since you're a 5-1, the strongest will always be a 5. But of course, you can play around and have those little moments of like, I'm supporting my 4 right now. Like I'm nurturing this 4 energy. I'm experimenting with this 4 energy. Because at the end of the day, like, that's all that we can do with these. Like, that's all that we can do is play with them. Like, I'm very much this kind of mad scientist whenever it comes to using my gene keys, because there's not a way written in stone for you to use these, but there's different ways for us to play with them. I experiment with it. I use it with other business owners, and then I go out and I teach it. And so it's one of those things that you just got to see how it feels for you, and then like see how it works, and then just like lather, rinse, repeat, keep trying it over and over again. Yeah. 4-6, and people feel so comfortable with me. Toria, that's a beautiful name. Yeah, that totally makes sense. But so Toria, her strongest one will be that 4, where Chris's strongest will always be that 6. And then of course we have that like the center of the Tootsie Pop where Nicole, you have the 1. So you have that 1 living and breathing inside of you too. Chris, you have that too. Just like I have that too. Toria, you have that 6 inside of you. So it's very much like, I do like to think about it, or like one of those suckers that has the gum inside of it. Oh my God. I used to eat those suckers every single day, like the green ones and the pink ones, or the no, they're not the dum dums. The blow pops. Ah, I love those. So you're kind of like a blow pop. Like the outer crust is your first profile line, and then the gum inside is like your second one. So since I'm a 5-2, the outside is the 5, and then the inside is that 2. So I have them in my house at all times. I love those. Yeah, me too. I haven't had those in a long time though. It's time. Okay, so we have the 5 and the 6 to cover. And so like I was saying, like you can drop your questions as we go through these and just let me know these things that you're thinking. But this is kind of like whenever I jump on here, I kind of start head first as like, this is a masterclass. Like this is something that I learned whenever I first started showing up in business. And I literally, this is a side note, by the way, but I used to talk to crickets. And so I had gone from doing like tarot readings back in the day, like back whenever I was full into that, where it would be like people asking questions, right? And it was like very interactive, right? And so then whenever I started like showing up and teaching, I was like waiting for those questions. And instead, like I had to just show up and have an outline of the things that I wanted to talk about. And if people wanted to ask questions, beautiful, I have my outline to like return to. But if not, like I'm going to get on a live and I'm going to teach and I'm going to record it and I'm going to have it where I can use it again later, or people can refer back to it later. So just so you know, that's how most of my things are structured. So feel free to ask questions in between all of the stuff. But the 5 line, so line 5, I'm going to be talking. I did a post about the line 5 today. I'm a line 5, and I feel very called to like share more because I feel like there's not a lot of information out there for the line 5s, and it needs to be spoken about more. I feel very passionate about it because I've lived it. And I know that if there was these certain things that like totally changed my brain, changed the way that I showed up in my business and made me money, like brought people into my world, then like I got to get out there and I got to tell people, because it took me a while of like understanding what it really meant to be a 5. And like, it's not just one day as a line 5 that you show up and you're all of you. Like, I don't care what people say. Like, you're going to have a day where you feel like ballsier. Like, do you know, okay, so many people like don't think that they are good at making content around their period, right? I have a whole post in mind about planning your life around your period and how it's like detrimental because like it screws with your mindset, but that's a story for another day. But you know how like a lot of people are like, oh, I'm like foggy around my period. Like, I don't want to like make this post. I'm telling you what, as a line 5, you have so much sassiness inside of you that like whenever I started posting more, like threads came out whenever I was about to start my period. And it was like this sassy, zazzy side of me that I hadn't seen before. And it almost like opened me up. It like cracked me open and started giving me permission to like come forward with that and be like, hey, like these are actually my opinions, and like they might be salty for some, they might be sweet for somebody else, or better example, Sour Patch Kids. Like first they're sour, then they're sweet, right? Like, so for some people, my message as a 5 might be super sour and they might be like, F you, Stephanie. Like, I'm not here for that. I don't like that. And other people might be like, Stephanie, this is the medicine for my soul. Like, you are saying the things that I needed to hear. And so as a line 5, you just have to be willing to get out there and share your opinions. And like, I know where my opinions are at now. My beliefs are going to completely morph and get even bolder and even louder in the next 6 months, and so on and so on and so on. And so as a line 5, it's not just like overnight you get hit in the head and you're like, okay, I am the most brave version of myself now. No, like it just takes time. Like, it's one of those things, of course, you'll have posts where you just feel like you're jumping into the water, right? Where you're just like, that was like it was ballsy of me. Like, that felt like I jumped into cold water, the temperature shock. Like, what are people going to think about this? Like, whatever. But there's going to be other times where you're just like, you go deeper and deeper. It's like going down the stairs of the pool, where it's like every single time you post, you get ballsier, you get braver, you get better at it. So As a line 5, the more that you share your opinions and you get up on your soapbox, the better. Just saying. Like, the more you do it, the better. Like, I felt really, really embarrassed to share my view of the gene keys and share my view and my opinions of human design, because I know that so many other people that talk about this kind of stuff don't believe it the way that I believe it. They don't believe in like my viewpoint of it. And that's okay. I had to realize that that was okay. That like, I don't like to follow rules with this kind of stuff, because at the end of the day, this is channeled out information. I like to take it for inspiration, for us to experiment with, for us to see what we can make from it, you know? And it's been really, really fun that way. It feels much lighter. It doesn't feel so serious, but like, of course, as I'm like friends with a lot of people in the human design world, like having those opinions made me nervous. And still to this day, I have times where I go to post and I'm like, whoa, 70, like that feels ballsy. But you just keep doing it and you just keep getting better. And whether you have a 5 line or not, I want you to like take that and run with it, because like we're allowed to have our own opinions with our business. Like, you're not meant to be in this cookie cutter vibe like everybody else, because like if you don't see your worth and the worth of your opinion, like you're cutting yourself out of bringing in so many people into your world. Like, you're keeping yourself small because you're scared that somebody will disagree with your opinion. And I lived it for a very long time. I used to give a lot of other people in my life the authority over what was right and what was wrong. I did it for years. I was a B-type personality. I was always the sidekick. I was never competitive. I was never ambitious. And everything changed once I learned these gene keys. Like, I'm an entirely different human being because I've been willing to not believe the things that other people believe, and to say things differently, and to shout it from the rooftop, you know? And speaking of the rooftop with the line 6s, you like my transitions? Like, like, do you remember on PowerPoint presentations, like the old ones, like the goofy little transitions they used to have? I think that's funny. But with the line 6s, yeah, you live those first 30 years like that 3. And so you ride that roller coaster, but then you get off of that roller coaster and you watch that roller coaster from the side. And like, it makes me always think like we had a Six Flags back whenever I used to live in the Midwest, and just watching this Batman roller coaster. After you rode it, it was like, holy crap, did I just do that? Like, oh my God, I didn't even know to expect that. Like, look at that. It's like you zoom out and you get to teach people. I never did one. You get to teach people from this higher, greater perspective. And so there's a really like holding a duality that comes with being a line 6 of you're in this world, but you're not of it. I don't ever let that make you feel disconnected like from people, or like, you know, that there's something wrong with you, because there's not. There's not anything wrong with you. You're a human. Of course, you're going to have emotions. Like, we all have emotions like that sometimes, but like, you have the unique, like, silver lining of your life is the fact that you can really see this higher perspective that nobody else can. So understand that whenever you take that step back, sometimes, even if you like energetically hop back from a situation, you've got the 20 steps ahead. You know the answer, but you are here to like bop back and forth, and you can guide people to that solution. That's on Pearl 58 and how to integrate it. Oh my God, I love Pearl 58, or the 58th gene key, because this is all about, like, at the heart of it all, you get to focus your career around joy. And a lot of people that I come across that have the 58 have had like back and forth with this joy in their life. Like, I always think about my hairdresser, because she has that in her life's work. It's not in her Pearl, it's in her life's work. So she's like, Steph, what are you talking about? Like, that's one of the things that I've really had a hard time with. And I'm like, exactly. That's something that you've come here to master. Like, some of your gene keys will be like, oh my gosh, I'm really, really good at this. I know this. And other parts of your gene key. So Jess, maybe you are tapped into your joy and you're like, oh my gosh, like I get to make my life around this. Like I get to create content. I get to create courses around the things that like give me a pulse of life, of just like joy. Like sometimes those are the things that we already have living and breathing inside of our system. And sometimes our gene keys are things that we've come here and we're like still mastering and we're still learning. But that's why you become the best person to teach about it, and why you are somebody that like at the heart of everything in your life is joy. Like it sounds so simplistic, but it's almost better that way. It's almost like you get to let everything else go. And whenever you're feeling like melancholy or disenchanted, then you know it's time to pivot. Like that makes it so beautiful in a sense that it gets to be that clean. It gets to be that like crystal cut for you, that if you're I like the disenchanted word. Like if you're not feeling enchanted or fascinated by what it is that you're doing, then you get to pivot. I love it. My gene keys seem to be moving to simplicity. Yes, you are so welcome. And I love hearing that, Jess, because a lot of people come across these gene keys and they're like, this is overwhelming. This is too much. And so to like hear you say that it's like, this is bringing more simplicity into my life. Like, that's really cool. I love that, because it really should. Like at the end of the day, once we figure this stuff out, once we learn how to read these, like it does make your life more simple. But sometimes whenever you look at that chart for the first time and all these crazy circles, it's like, what in the heckity heck does this mean? So if you are somebody that has been wanting to learn your gene keys, learn to read them so that you can help clients with it, or just like use it for yourself and your business, the link is in my bio for my, I almost said brand new, but it's actually round 2 of my Decode Your Keys course, where you get to learn how to read these gene keys. You get all of the information, all of the live classes from the very first round. And in round 2 that starts in September, we are building upon that information. So in round 1, we really went into all of the different lines of every single one of the gene keys. So we like dove into the nitty gritty. Like God bless the people that were in round 1, because we like went straight into it. And so this round 2, we're going to be talking about all the 64 different gene keys. And also I'm going to have a business map for you to like almost plug and play your gene keys to like point you in the right direction of your genius, of what is here to make you money through like what's your unicorn? What makes you special? How can you make content around these things? Like, how can you show up differently in your business? And so I was like, we have to make a map out of all these things. And so this next round, we'll be talking about the 64 gene keys and that business map. And then you get all 4 courses from before. And anytime that you sign up for one of my courses, I always have like really fun gifts for the people that become students of mine. So I love spending time with people, and there'll be a lot of hot seat coaching in this as well. And especially in the rounds moving forward, because you'll have lifelong access to this program. And so the more that I teach about the basics every single time, the more and more space opens up for like hot seat coaching for business strategy, or just like questions that you have about the gene keys. So this is the lowest price that I'm ever going to have it moving forward. It's at $399 right now on pre-sale. My pre-sale goes on for about 2 weeks. I haven't looked at my date yet for it. Let's see what the day is. No, I'll put a date on it. But whenever you sign up now, you get instant access to that program. So you can just like dive right in and start learning from round 1. But the live classes begin September. But like I said, that pre-sale ends in about 2 weeks from now. But make sure you get in on that, because like I said, it's a lifelong class that we're just going to keep adding really fun stuff to. So okay, the next part is we talked about profile lines whenever it comes to client attraction. The next thing is the archetypes, aka the gene keys, aka the human design gates. And this is the really fun thing. I had somebody else bring up the other day. They're like, oh my gosh, you know, like whenever I do human design readings, or whenever I've like talked to human design readers, they focus in very heavily on the type and the authority, which is like, that's their meat and cheese. Like that's what they love. But for me, I've always been obsessed with the profile lines and with what you would call the human design gates or the gene keys, because I feel like there's so much more fun in there. And like, I know that plenty of people have had like aha moments of being like, I'm a projector, I'm a manifesting generator. But I'm like, I'm telling you now, there's so many more details whenever it comes to your archetypes that it's like, all of these little different personalities that are living and breathing inside of you. Whenever you tap into these things, you become a magnet. This is why I always say, like, we're the perfect teachers of the things that are in our gene keys because we've navigated through these things and because we just have this like natural affinity for them. So I was talking about the 56 gene key the other day and how I have that in my radiance. And so I wasn't plugging into the archetype of this storyteller comedian whenever I first started my business. And so I was very prim and proper. I was very just like trying to float along the radar. Do you know what I mean? Where I just like, I wanted to just like skirt by and like not ruffle any feathers and just be like, hey, I look like all of these other coaches, even though like the little rainbow child inside of me wanted to stand out. But like something inside, like something inside of me was just like still scared to like show the internet my weird ass eccentric side. Like, because truly, I'm a calm little human being, but at the same time, I have this passion and this fire and this weirdness that I wasn't bringing into my business. And so once I really started to respect that 56 gene key, that archetype, you get it. I feel like I feel like if you're here, like you are not even an undercover weirdo, like you get to bring your weird to your business. And this is just like, I'm flying my freak flag so that everybody else can understand, like, it's time to let your freak flag fly. Chris, I don't know if you follow me over on Instagram, but I make the weirdest memes and they make me so happy. But I love doing things that are fun now. And it brings me into a different energy whenever I show up for my business. And like, you know how many more people I've had come into my world because I've leaned into this comedian side, this like goofier side of myself that wouldn't have if I was trying to be something that I'm not. Ooh. That's a really good question, Nicole. We zoom in on this on one of my courses, Keys to Confidence, but I almost actually did my live today around the radiance key. So it's a really good question. That is the key that and it's funny because we're going to be talking about the one that I feel that they hold hands. So that's the attraction key. I feel like the attraction key and the radiance key hold hands in a way, but they both do different things. And so the radiance key is more of whenever you're mentally and physically healthy and you respect that energy of what that key is about, that is whenever you shine like a lighthouse from the inside out. And so I often refer to the radiance key as like, if there is a ship and they are sailing in the dark, whenever you are happiest and healthiest, they see you like that lighthouse and they're drawn to you. They're like, this person is literally glowing. So I had to, since mine is in the 56, I had to take responsibility for the fact that like, I needed to bring funny in because that's what makes me physically and mentally healthy. Yeah. I do. I will definitely go look. I'm not on there that much. Yeah. I love the memes over there. But yeah, so think about the radiance as like there's the ship and they see that lighthouse. That lighthouse is whenever you are the happiest, healthiest version of you. And so then what I'm going to be going into in a few minutes is the attraction key. And that's more of like the ship is out there on the ocean, but this is the siren's call. That is like the pulling you in, where the lighthouse, it's like, oh my God, look at that person, where the siren's call is the pulling you in. So people do see that though. And they're like, they're going to say yay or nay when it comes to the lighthouse. They're going to be like, oh my God, I love the way this person shines. And so that carries over in our business. Like, I think that's a very, very important one. And it's something that like, I don't think that I realized how important it was until I just kept having these intuitive nudges that were like, look at this, look at this, look at this, play with this, Stephanie. And so once I started doing it, I was like, this is like a part of the secret sauce. Like, this is the cherry on top of the cake that I was kind of overlooking, to be honest with you. And so another archetype that I have personally in my system, I'll go over a few other ones, but the 60, I have the 60 in my life's purpose. It's one of my gene keys. It's all about really being like this mindset master in a sense. It's really about like, if you have things that show up in your world, like how you navigate around them and how you see yourself through those things. And so as soon as I started like putting that into my content and even realizing like that's how I help clients. I really do at the core, like I talk about gene keys, I talk about business strategy and like the actions that they can take. But really, if I'm being honest with you, a lot of these, like even my recent one-to-one sessions I've been doing with people have been like there's an undertone of helping people steer through mindset issues whenever it comes to their business. And it's like this aha moment that they have of like, oh my God, like just because one person says something that like clicks in their brain that they were ready to hear and they're like, oh, okay, this makes so much sense. And so I draw people in the more that I'm willing to have those kinds of conversations instead of just like glossing it over or be like, hey, what if you do this strategy? Or like, hey, what if you just look at this gene key? Whenever I combine them all with the mindset aspect, that's when everything starts to change in the grooviest way. So I've never thought of these gene keys as a standalone thing. I've always seen them as this big like mindset work that we really get to do. It's kind of like a iceberg or something. I almost said a glacier. An iceberg, like there's the gene keys is like the top that you can see, but really the bottom of it all is like you got to do the mindset work to believe these things about yourself, to play with these things about yourself and see what comes from that. And so another one is the 45 archetype. I don't have this one personally in my chart, but if you're somebody that has the 45, you are actually very, very good about talking about money. And I've had people that are on total opposite sides of their relationship with money, but they're here to master it. No matter where they're at, they're here to master this relationship with money. And the more open and like the more that they talk about their experiences with that kind of stuff and share and teach that draws people into them. That makes them very attractive to their dream clients because it's something like I've always said, these gene keys are like a soul song. Like people can hear it whenever you're speaking that thing that like shines through your cells, that shines through like your DNA, like people can feel it. Another one is that 26 that I was talking about with Jess earlier. That is like people want to learn sales from you. Like people want to know how it is that you do what you do. And if you have the 26 and you're not doing sales, you're not talking about sales at all, like it's not going to feel that good. If you're not learning how to market yourself, if you're not like learning how to sell who you are and what it is that you have to offer the world, there's going to feel like there's going to be a part of you that feels like it's not utilizing its God-given talent, right? I'm big on that whenever it comes to these gene keys. It's like these are our God-given talents. These are our gifts and like they want to come alive through us. So we have to stretch them. Even if we're not perfect at them at first, we have to stretch them. We have to move them and see how they work in our life. And so that 26 is very much like this magnetic salesperson that it's not even about like manipulation. It's about knowing the right words to say to people that evoke something inside of them and make them like truly interested in what it is that you're selling and what it is that you're sharing. Like you're very believable. And so like use that shit to your advantage because like I've said, that one's not in my chart, but it was one of those that I decided I was like, I'm taking this pony and I'm making it mine. Like this is something I'm going to get really good at. Like I learned about it. I've like sat with it and I feel like I've evoked this inside of my system. Yeah. And so we can do that with any gene keys at any time because we have all 64. I thought I heard somebody knocking. Whatever. Like we have all, my husband will figure it out. We have all 64, you know, so you can wake up those inside your system whenever you feel called. Blah. Let's get into the attraction gene key. That's my last thing that I wanted to cover today. And like I said, drop your questions below if you still have other questions as we're sitting here hanging out. But the attraction gene key is the one I was speaking on a little bit earlier. So we have the radiance, which makes you that lighthouse that like whenever you're healthy, whenever your mindset is right, whenever you're taking advantage of this gene key and like utilizing it in your life, like giving it life and breath, you are that lighthouse. But with this attraction, this is like a chemical reaction that almost like there's a lot of like kind of sexuality and sensuality around this gene key. And that doesn't mean that you have to be like, in all of your marketing, you have to like talk about sex. Like I know a lot of people, by the way, that are like ballsy as heck and they talk about the sexiest stuff in their marketing. And I do like from time to time, and I'll probably get crazier with it as time goes on, but like it doesn't matter where you're at with that, because there is this like almost chemical reaction that happens for people whenever you're tuned into this attraction key. Ooh, you have the 20.6 in your attraction and making content. So I call, like, you're not going to find this anywhere on the internet, because I really had to sit with the 20 for a long time to understand it. I was doing all these readings with entrepreneurs, and I wasn't satisfied with the explanation. Oh my God, that's so beautiful. Thank you. That made me so happy. It reminded me of Rainbow Bright. But I wasn't satisfied with the explanation of the 20th gene key. Like, I studied it through the human design lens. I studied it through the gene key lens. I studied it through the Chinese I Ching, and really like through working with other people and letting all of those different ideas stir and purr in my system. I eventually like came across something that I was like, it clicked in my brain that the 20 this is my clunkiest name for any of them, but I love it. The divine bullshit caller outer. Like, you are the bullshit caller outer. And it's almost like you have this megaphone, and like when everybody else is like, oh my God, this is why this thing sucks, and this is why this thing's bad, you're like, actually, no, I love this thing, and this is why. Like, the more that you're willing to do that and be this, like, if you almost think about yourself like with this megaphone of like, everybody is being a sheeple over here, and I have my megaphone and I'm ready to like blast the real truth, that is whenever people are pulled into you. Wait, what is this for? So whether you have this or not in your chart, this is the 20th gene key that we're talking about. And so whenever you have that 20.6, you can think of it as kind of what we were talking about earlier with how the sixes live their first 30 years like the three. So it's all that like trial and error roller coaster ride that you navigated through, that you now get to teach from that point of view. Like, you're almost like up in that tree. Oh my God, I'm like getting the most beautiful visual right now. Okay, so picture your little self. So you used to play on the playground with everybody else, right? And you like stumbled, you fell, you learned, right? But now you learned better. You scurried up the tree and you have your megaphone, and now you get to direct people like, actually, you're all running left whenever you could be running right, and it could be even more successful for you. So like, literally with that 6 and that 20th gene key, you were in the kerfuffle. I don't know if kerfuffle is a word, but you were in the craziness. Then you went and climbed that tree with your megaphone, and now you're up there just directing people. And they're like, how do you know? And you're like, because I've already played it. I've already done it that way before. And like, here's a better way. So hopefully that carries over to your brain as well. I totally do this. My BS detector is my gift. Yeah, you are so welcome. This is one of the things that I'm very passionate about teaching the gene keys. And this goes for like any human design readers too. Like, there's something that happens whenever we're willing to bust out of the normal way that these things are taught and to use different verbiage. And even like for me, that's just like my intuitive like clairvoyance that comes through and shows me those pictures. It was the same whenever I used to speak to people who had crossed over, or like do like any kind of mediumship readings. That was like my own flavor, my own interpretation. And so we got to be willing to be brave whenever it comes to like how we see things, because like somebody out there needs it, right? Like somebody out there, hey Amber, needs it from your point of view. And so like I'm super into sharing it from our own perspective, changing the words that need to be changed so that like the door opens for more people to understand what it is that you're teaching. So I'm so glad you love that. We can see things as gifts instead of curses for sure. But this attraction gene key. So I'll give you mine as an example too. So we just did yours about the 20.6. So as an example for mine, I'm pretty sure it's a 15.5, but I'm going to zoom into the 15, into the gene key part of it. So I have the 15 in a couple different places in my human design chart, in my gene key chart. So I always call this like double mint gum, like double the flavor, double the fun. Cause a lot of people will ask me, they'll be like, I have repeats of Gene Keys. It's like, yeah, you're just like really good at that thing. Like you're really supposed to be teaching about that thing. And so I have the 15. I love to describe the 15 as this person that's like brave, as this person. The visual I've always gotten is that the world is flat, all of the water's falling off the end of the map, all of these ships are falling off the end of the map, but like you're the ship that'll go all the way to the edge and turn around and have the story to bring back for other people. So there is an insane boldness that comes with this 15 gene key. And so even if so whenever it comes to like me attracting people, I have to be willing to tell those stories about me moving across the country to become a lavender farmer when I didn't know what lavender smelled like, whenever I was selling BMWs, like I have to tell the story about how I decided to just sell my business on, it wasn't really a whim. I knew inside, but to other people, it looked like on a whim, and invested in 6 months private coaching, $15,000 with somebody. Like I have to be willing to tell those stories. Not only that, like my colors were so bland and bland and kind of boring for me personally whenever I first started, because I wanted to be like the neutral coaches, right? Where like you see all their beautiful like neutral things and it like totally works for them. But like I'm rainbow bright, crazy pants bananas. Like I have to have color. And so like there's that boldness that attracts people to me. So now that I have all of these wild colors, it's like, oh, there's Stephanie. Like I know that that's Stephanie. And so whenever you know what your attraction gene key is, that is the thing. Like I said, it gives a chemical reaction to somebody else that really pulls them in. Oh, you have the 15 too? Nice. Yeah. So everything that I just said probably applies to you as well, It's weird you mentioned colors. I was drawn to your glasses before you even mentioned it. This is exactly why I wear these glasses. These are blue light blocking glasses. There was something I heard before, and I obviously have to do like, there's mindset work that is required around it too, where it's like, I can get on here without the glasses, but I heard something about fives before that was like, whenever you have something that's like a focal point for people, it makes them like pay attention, and then they stop and they really listen to your words. So like back whenever I started my business, I had like one of those crazy streaks, even though everything else was really boring. I got these like cat ears. They're like rhinestoned, and it would like stop the scroll, right? And so I've had like different iterations of this, like even my key and lock necklace. Like these are things to like pull people's eyes to whenever I speak, so that they're like, oh, that's interesting. And then they like continue to listen and they really dive deep inside of it. I was going to ask okay, I got them on Amazon and I got a 2-pack. I never wear these ones. They're so cute though. I never wear the black ones. Yeah, they're blue light blockers for like whenever I type emails and stuff. So those are cute too. But like, I'm such a little rainbow hoe that like these make me so happy. And so I used to actually, for the longest time, if you go back to all of my content from like probably April and before, maybe even like even like May and before, I wore all black all the time. And so this summer, like all these little tank tops are from Walmart. Like I love the way they're stretchy. They come in all different colors. And like for years and years, I had all the black ones, but like they were always like, and I used to make all natural products. So I was always like getting stuff on me, like shea butters and almond oil, things like that. So I'd always get these little tank tops. But this summer, Walmart came out with a bunch of like crazy cool gem colors. And then I matched them with these glasses, and I feel more like myself than I ever have before, because I was wearing all of that black clothing, even though I'm like a little witchy, but like I was wearing just black clothing, but like inside of me is a rainbow, So we have to know what pretty rainbow. So we have to lean into these gene keys. We have to lean into these archetypes, these things, because they're going to really make us stand out in our business and bring people into us. Rainbow hoe is like my favorite thing. I listen to anyways. Yeah. If you are boring, oh gosh. I was going to ask. Yeah, but I got them on Amazon. Yeah, so you can get the two. They're super groovy. But yeah, so whenever you lean into these things, who else has their attraction pulled up right now? We can go over those ones. I know I've talked to you, Nicole, about yours, but yeah, whenever we lean into this attraction key, I feel like it makes things so much juicier. And it's funny because like the way that they teach it in the Gene Key book is so different than the way that I see it. Like very much in the Gene Key book, it talks about this Venus sequence as being this like deep dive into your shadows. And I don't know about you, but I feel like a lot of people that are at least like drawn to the way that I talk about the Gene Keys, like you've literally done your due diligence. Like you've been in the spiritual world or you've been addressing the things that you needed to address for a long time. And for me, whenever I came across these Gene Keys, it was very much, yay, we have a new student in Decode Your Keys. Who signed up? I'm so excited. Who signed up? Yay, yay, yay. I can't wait. And you get access. Oh, Brandy, I'm so glad you're here. You get access to the round 1 of Decode Your Keys, which like I said, like fasten your seatbelt because we like dive deep into it. You get access as soon as I hop off of this live and you get into that Facebook group. So I'm so excited. Yay. But it's where was I going with those things? But yeah, whenever we really like, oh, okay. So I came across these Gene Keys whenever I was stepping out of the shadow work. I was stepping out of like the circling the drain of my past. And I was ready to really like sink my teeth into the things that made me different. I was ready to like accomplish goals. And like I was tired of just kind of like laying around and healing. And I like actually the words healing almost became repulsive to me. And I was like, no, I want to go take action and I want to see what it is that I'm capable of. And so whenever I see this Venus sequence, I don't see this as a let's go dwell in our shadows kind of party, which like if that's what you see in it, then that's your own interpretation and that's okay. Like all of us can have our different interpretations. But for me, I'm like, holy crap, there is so much entrepreneurial juice inside of these, inside of this Venus sequence that helps you to understand how your brain works, helps you to understand how you attract clients, helps you to understand like emotionally how you developed whenever you were younger and utilize that in your business. Another one, your childlike spirit. Like this is one of those things whenever you know what is like fuel to the fire of your childlike spirit and you bring that into your business, by golly goodness. Like, so mine is my attraction and my SQ, aka your childlike spirit. They're both the 15. So do you see why the colorful glasses, the colorful shirts, the boldness, the weirdness is those things that are going to be like, okay, I feel very whole in my business now. I'm so confused about how Gene Keys are similar and different from our human design gates. Honestly, Chris, oh, your attraction is the 15 too, Nicole. That's so cool. Oh, I love that. Yeah, we did talk about that the other week. So honestly, Chris, I've always seen them as being married. There was so little information out there on each Gene Key whenever I first started doing all this research to learn so that I could go out and teach. Like I learned so much from the interpretation of human design gates. And honestly, Richard Rudd, who channeled out the Gene Keys, he studied human design for a very long time. He studied the Chinese I Ching or I Ching. Why do I always want to call it something different. You know what I'm saying. But it's one of those things like they're all married together. They're all inspired by each other. I don't see a separating line. And honestly, like I have some of the funnest conversations, like Brandy and I have had so many conversations about what it's like, how does it feel to live the 31? Like, how does it feel to live the 27? Like, it's the same language. Like you're speaking the same language. Mine is in Mars. Ooh, your attraction is 6.1. I really love, actually, like one of the first times I had somebody, this is so funny. I was like, learning to build my confidence with like talking about these gene keys, and somebody had the attraction in the 6th, and they're like, how in the heck am I supposed to use this to attract clients? And I remember being like, like my feelings were hurt or something. And so it's really funny because I had like sat with this one for a while, and I didn't respond to that girl for a while until I was like, actually, this is what it means. And so that's really funny. It's like a full circle. But that 6, they call it the peacemaker, right? But it's almost like this ability to calm chaos. But I really think of this as like you are this divine problem solver. Like you are somebody that like presents an issue for people in a way that's like very clear and concise. And then you solve it for them on the spot. Like you literally calm that situation. You create peace in their life. So you're actually one of those people that I know it gets a bad rep about like talking about pain points or using like clickbaity titles, but actually that's going to be something that's like very, very significant for you to do so that, and you find your own way, your own method of doing this. But like whenever you are like calling people out on their exact thing that they're navigating through, and then you help them solve it in a post or whatever it is that you're doing in a video, like that is what's going to bring people into you because they're like, oh, this person like gets it. This person understands the steps that I need to take to like make this better in my life. And like, I want to learn more from them. Like, this is a really interesting way of putting it. So it's the peacemaker on this, like almost like lowest level, you could call it. On this like more complex, flavorful level, I really do see it as like you present a problem and you give people a solution for it. People get so triggered if they're not good at looking at themselves, for sure. I'm not a business person at all. I'm doing this for myself and the people around me. Yeah. And so anytime too, as that peacemaker, if you feel yourself being the one that wants to stir up trouble, and you know exactly what I'm talking about, like almost like that grocery person, like that grocery checkout person, like was not doing their job right, like that blah, 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 blah. Like anytime that you feel yourself like stirring the pot in any way, shape, or form, it's almost like that shut it down moment, because the minute that you shut it down, you're back into you. And like honestly, like people don't want to hear you ever complain or like break down somebody else. That's one of the things with like this peacemaker. It's like the more that you can just be like groovy and in harmony and just be like almost like let other people roll off your shoulders, the more inviting and fun and magnetic you are. So like I know you've already done a lot of this healing work, but it's just like a reiteration of like old Chris versus new Chris of where you go, you know? Brandy, your attraction is 57.2. I've been leaning into this lately. Okay. I love the 57 because like I was talking about this with the 58 earlier too, as well, where the 58 is all about that joy and how it almost like simplifies things. Like where if you're feeling disenchanted at all, like it's time to pivot. And like the 57 out of all, so I talk about this a lot, Brandy, with the gene keys, how I picture them all as like 64 different racehorses, right? There's ponies, there's palominos, there's quarter horses, you know, they're all different kinds of horses with different kinds of attitudes, different kinds of speeds that they run. And we use a lot of words a lot in this kind of like spirituality and coaching realm of intuition. But like out of all 64 of those, you know, that one is about your intuition. And so you have that natural too, like that little genius with the point too. So everything that you do is led by that intuition. The videos that you make, the time that you get on your lives, the way that you even like raise your voice whenever you say certain things that you feel are important, that you can feel like the magnitude of this needs to get across the screen to this person that I'm reading to. Like it's just this like inner computer that you have that it guides every step of your way. And like, you don't really fight it anymore. You know what I mean? I think that you still think that you do, but you don't. Like, honestly, from the outsider's point of view, watching you work is one of the most beautiful things because it is this like, when you're in your zone, it's like this intuitive dance that you're doing. And you know how it is with the twos, where it's just like, you don't even realize that the genius is at work, or that like other people can see the genius at work, but everybody else has eyes on you and they're like, holy shit, like she's saying the exact things that I need that are about to change my life forever. And so I love that. Like the work that you do, like it comes from structure, right? Like the human design stuff like comes from this structure, but you're putting your own spin on it in a way that like you're pulling out and extracting exactly what people need, and they just keep getting pulled to you. And I see the way that people show up on your lives, and it's beautiful. Like I feel like there's new people all the time on there, and they can just feel that from you whenever they scroll past and they're like, okay, like I'm getting a structured reading, right? But like actually there's this like secret whisper of intuitive goodness that comes through it too. Oh my gosh, I have 16 new messages. Oh, Steph, you're making me blush. I love you, Brandy. Like, honestly, I talk about Brandy all the time, and I give her as an example of like this projector that really does kick ass with what it is that she's doing. Because I see a lot, and I'm sure Brandy knows this, but like in the human design world, I feel like sometimes whenever people learn about their projector abilities that they have, they almost have this like want to pull back and this want to like kind of like not get their hands dirty and like not get out there and like see what they're capable of. But like Brandy sets the tone in her life in a way that I really haven't seen a lot of projectors do, where she puts herself out there and she teaches and guides other people in a way that feels really good to her energy. But also like, you don't wait around, Brandy. Like you don't just like wait around for things to happen for you. Like you got up the gumption to show up on social media and to be that leader with your 31 and to start teaching. Like you got up the gumption to start owning that like, hey, I'm the person you go to for readings. Like you didn't wait for somebody to be like, hey, Brandy, like I hear that you like human design. Do you want to read this for everybody in the world? It's like, no, like you got the lady balls up to do it. So I love sending projectors to Brandy's world because honestly, you really do exemplify what it means to guide people in the most beautiful way. And so I love you. I could talk about you all day. I'm such a nerd. When I'm live, I don't remember anything I say. I just let it flow. That totally makes sense. I do that kind of stuff too. You little genius. I have to like scroll up because I love all this. Yes. Okay. I do too. She's a special one. It's my gate 53. If I don't begin things, my freedom feels like it's taken from me. I love that 53, Brandy. Like, and that's such a good point. That's such a beautiful thing because like, I feel like so many people are, okay, Nicole, I'll let you in. But I feel like so many people are just scared of starting. Because like, think about it, whenever it comes to like working out, or whenever it comes to like maybe picking up a guitar and learning how to play an instrument, or even like for me, whenever I first started learning about sales and marketing, I remember I would listen to this marketing podcast and it all sounded like jargon that I had never heard before. And I was like, holy shit, like, how am I going to like get into this? But like, once you just like bite the bullet and you go for it, you get your sea legs, you figure it out as you go. And honestly, you get so much information from being able to start all of these different projects that like helps other people to be brave and do that too, right? If I don't begin, yes, not in a little school bus kind of way. Oh, your purpose is 33. Got a question. I've got Neptune in the headspace at the number 61. Oh my gosh, Amber, it is so funny. And I think Brandy has this too if she's still on here. I come across so many damn intuitive people that just have that little hanging 61 in their brain. Like I cannot tell you how many people I gotta take my jacket off. How many people I have read for that have that little hanging 61 up in their brain space. And it's like, I always see this as like picturing how they say whenever you're like in love, you picture the world with rose-colored glasses. Like I picture these people with like these purple, like indigo, like psychedelic glasses. Like you really do see the world as like, it's not just as simple as it looks. Like there's so much more to it. Like you're going to answer all of these big, juicy, cool questions of the universe. And like, it's the mystic. Like I find so many people that I've talked to that just have that little hanging 61. It's like, what is in the water? Like what is happening that all of us have come together with these little 61s on like crowns on our head? It's so funny. Is the pressure to figure out the truth? Yes. I sure do. Oh, your purpose is the 53, and that makes so much sense. Yeah. So in your Neptune, I always think about my Neptune as like the dreamy part of me, like in accomplishing my dreams, though. And so it's almost like the mystic side of you is that bridge where it's almost like you just allow yourself to go from one rabbit hole to the next, like seeking all of these different answers. And like, it's going to get you to your final destination. Even if like, sometimes it feels like, how am I putting all of these different pieces together? Like I'm just searching here, there, and everywhere, but like all of it culminates to create the dream life that you want to live. I always think about that. I think about my Neptune in the sense, if this can like anybody else who's like looking at your Neptune, I know it's not a part of your gene keys, but A, I'm convinced that the gene keys is not a complete chart yet. I think that they're going to add more planets to it. And B, I just love that part of human design. And I pull it over into my little gene key world and I love it. Like, I think it's so fun. But so for me, my Neptune is in 38. And so the 38's the warrior, the fighter. I always think about it like Hercules, the I can go the distance kind of vibe. And so like understanding persistence is huge for me with my dreams. So for you with that 61, it's like understanding that like you're going to have these questions, like Brandy said, you're going to like keep asking these like big universal questions, and they're just going to keep leading you to new doorsteps, that eventually it all culminates together and you get to weave them together in a way that really works for you. Brady, do you have 38 in Neptune too? Since we're like born, like you're 91 and I'm 90. We're like 8 months apart from each other. I don't know, math. Yeah, so we might share the same one. Oh yeah, mine too. I see. Good. Your purpose is the 42.2. I had a heck of a time with the 42 because I have it in my evolution whenever I first started reading about it. And so whenever I see the 42, so we're just talking about the 43 or the 53 about being really good whenever it comes to like starting new projects. So like think about people that like work in a business or whatever. Like there's somebody that's like really good at like bringing the energy into the project to like infuse everybody and be like, yes, this project's going to kick ass. This is going to be wonderful. Like this is the thing. There's other people who hold like the energy of the middle. They have that persistence. They have that staying power, right? They have that, like, we're going to get oh my God, this is all like coming together beautifully. So like, think about the 38, like the persistence to see it through, right? Then there's the people like the 42 who are like, I love that somebody calls it the celebration doula. I can't remember if it's Christian Niche or if it's on Unlock Your Design, but this is like the closer. Like you are the one that like closes things out and finishes things, makes sure things are very complete in your life. And so for me, because this was in my evolution, I found out like, hey, I really have to be aware of cycles whenever it comes to relationships, whenever it comes to job, whenever it comes to like certain ways that I do fitness or certain like diets that I have. So like with your purpose, like that being in your purpose, you get to integrate that into everything that you do of like, whenever the stopping point has come, whenever it's time to be done with something and it's time to move on to the next, because it can feel like this endless loop of like, why am I still circling the same tunnel? Whenever you just like let one thing go, you're able to like jump up into this next level and start living there. So they do call it the celebration doula because it's like celebrating the closeout. But I love to really think about it like that. Like if you think about work projects, like the 53 is the starter. You could think of that 38 as like the persistence to see it through. And then the 42 is the one that like seals the deal, closes it out, and makes sure that it's done right. And then if you want to get really nerdy, then there's a fourth step, which I think about as the 18th gene key, which is like this divine perfectionist. And then they're the ones that like wrap it up and put like a big bow on the project at the end, make it aesthetically pleasing that like makes it a 12 out of 10 instead of a 10 out of 10. Just things that go on in my brain. Oh, no. I gotta scroll down. Oh, you have 53 in your evolution. So yours is about the beginnings. Oh, that's beautiful. I think they will. Okay. Oh, you have the 18 in your Venus. Oh my God. I'm like, oh, Nicole, I'm so excited. Like I said, I'll send you that Facebook link before. Oh, I'm so excited that you are in this course. I was literally thinking about you, Nicole, and I was like, this would be really, really good for her. Like whenever it comes to even working with clients, not even just like learning about yourself, but like helping them too. That's like both sides of the coin. You know what I mean? It's like, yes, this helps me, but like it just gives you another tool to help clients, right? It's just another thing in your tool belt, in your pocket to like pull out and be like, oh, what about this? Like, and use your intuition through it. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, but Amber, I'm like obsessed with the 18. I always talk about Kim Kardashian and my husband whenever I talk about the 18. And he's like, how in the hell have you roped me into like, how do you put us in the same room? And I'm like, I'm going to tell you how. Like she has it in her vocation. So like her work. Like part of like, if you think about your life's work, your purpose and your vocation, those are all like this combination of your actual career, right? And so she has it in that spot. And so it's all about like people think that she's being really judgmental. And like, of course, she comes off as like kind of judgmental and stuff too with that, like where she'll be kind of mean to her sisters. She'll be like, you guys look like shit. Like, why are you going out in front of the paparazzi like this? But really at the heart of it all is like this drive to have things be aesthetically pleasing and done the right way, to go the extra mile. My husband's the exact same way. Where like whenever he mops the floor, like the floor sparkles for 5 days, right? Whenever I mop the floor, I zoom around it like it's a freaking witch's broomstick and I'm like, done in like 4 minutes. But I'm like, look, I like got up the dog's drool. Like it's totally fine. But like when he does it, it's done right and it's done well. I even think about like those people that bake those beautiful cakes that like put the details on everything and like and you have that ability and like to take that from yourself where people like try to talk you out of your perfectionism. Like I'm not saying burn yourself into the ground from it, but I am saying like let yourself go the extra mile whenever it feels really good to you, whenever it feels really exciting for you. And like I said, instead of making things a 10 out of 10, you make them a 12 out of 10. It was the same feeling whenever I used to sell BMWs, and I would always like one of my favorite parts because like I didn't really understand the numbers game and like back then like how that all worked. It was just this like magical occurrence whenever I sold cars. I was like, yay, the universe. Like, but my favorite part was always going to get the bow to put on the customer's car. And so it made a difference, right? Whenever people would walk up and see that beautiful brand new BMW with a gigantic bow on it, they were like, oh, Stephanie, like that is beautiful. Like, oh, Stephanie. So like you have that inside of you. And it's the same way my husband cleans his motorcycles. Like he's taken it to the Harley dealership and they brought it back and he's like, this looks like shit. Like this is not to my standards of cleaning. And it was the same with Kim. Like everything that she does, she's like, if we're going to do it, we're going to do it right. We're going to go the extra mile. So you have that inside of you. So don't ever ignore that. Yeah. Can't find the planets on my chart. Oh, Chris, you are good. Okay. So whenever you are, okay, if you go to like a website They don't talk about the planets on your gene key chart. Like you have to go back to like a human design chart to look at that. If you're on my human design chart or .com or whatever, I don't think that she has all of the planets listed on hers. So I usually like, I don't know, maybe Brandy or Tangi have their own ways of looking at your chart too, where they have the placements, because I need the placements there because I love looking at the placements of what all of the different ones are. That's like speaking a secret code language that just makes sense to my brain. But I know for sure Jovian Archive, it's like the second one down. If you go look up human design charts, that one has the planetary placements. And so that can show you those things too. But it's like all the little symbols, all the little squigglies and stuff. So I've had to like go back like throughout the years and be like, okay, what does this squiggly mean? What does that squiggly mean? That squiggly is Jupiter. That squiggly is the moon, you know? So, oh, body graph. Yeah, cool. Nice. Yeah, Brandy, do you have one where you can like go? I know that you use a really nice like whenever you're doing your human design readings, like whatever website you go to, I wasn't sure if that was yours. I know Tangi had like just made one of her own too. So I'm always here for like corrections for an even better way of doing it, because I just like, I'm like doing what works. Squigglies. Yeah, it's one of those things like you just learn the squigglies over time, what the squigglies mean. And just especially like the placements. Like, even if you don't remember the exact squigglies, you're like, okay, down here is Neptune. Down here is Uranus. Like, those are the things. So, yeah. Oh my gosh. I've had so much fun today. Have you had fun hanging out here and talking about this kind of stuff? I know that we go in all different directions, but like, I wouldn't have it any other way because it's fun that way. It keeps it like exciting. It keeps things like hot and heavy. I love it. So, okay. We talked today about the profile lines, the archetypes, and your attraction sphere whenever it comes to calling in clients in your business, and just even like calling in people into your life too, if you're taking even business out of it. But you know, I'm obsessed with the business aspect of it. But truly, whenever we tap into these different things, the profiles, the archetypes, aka the human design gates, aka the gene keys, it really gives us this way to stand out in a different way for the people that are ready to work with us, right? And like whenever we start utilizing these things, it feels like that soul song for us. It feels something that's so natural. It's almost like putting this like spell out into the world of like, whenever you put it out there, like you will automatically bring back those people that are like, who are you? How can I pay you? How can I work with you? Like, I'm ready. I'm here. And so if you have been wanting to learn to read these gene keys in a way that is fun, in a way that is potent, in a way that is centered around business, make sure you go to the link in my bio, because I have my Decode Your Keys course on pre-sale. And this is going to be the lowest I have it on pre-sale from here on out, because this is a course that's going to evolve with time. So you get access to the round before you. You get the live courses that are happening. They start in September, but then you'll get access to the next round after that. And as long as I teach the gene keys, there will just be more added on to it. And actually, as we keep going and adding on to it, there's going to be more just like hot seat coaching around that kind of stuff as well. But if you have been wanting to learn this for yourself or for your clients to add a new sparkle to your coaching or how you show up in your business, make sure you sign up for that course, because I really teach this in a way that's fun. I teach this in a way that's different, that you're not going to see anywhere else on the internet, because I'm such a firm believer in us teaching from our interpretation of things. Like I'm such a big believer in that, because I feel like all of us have a different spin on things, that whenever we put our own spin on things, you just allow so many more people to get it. It makes it click. Because if I was sitting out here teaching it just like the books, teaching it just like the gene key course, you know, you could have just gone there, right? You could have just gone to that source. That source is, to me, it's very poetic, and it focuses on different things than I like to focus on. I love to focus on turning on our higher qualities. I love to focus on how we can attract clients, how we can make money, how we can really feel like the best version of ourselves in our business. Those are the things that I love. Like, what is your calling, girl? Like, let's sink our teeth into that. Let's see what you can do with your work, because I've just had so much fun with these gene keys. Yay, claps. I've had so much fun with these gene keys, and it's the wildest thing. I've only been teaching them for over a year now, but it feels like I've known these for a very long time because I've spent time with these gene keys every single day. They say that it takes 18 minutes a day for a year to become an expert at anything. And I've definitely put in more due diligence than that when it comes to these gene keys. So if you do want to learn this in a way that feels fun, in a way that feels exciting, and have hot seat coaching inside of that space as well, get to learn all of the things about the lines from before, make sure you go sign up. That pre-sale ends in 2 weeks from now, but whenever you sign up, you get automatic access to the very first round. You get to learn all about that. And that is jam-packed with information. Like, I'm actually going to be creating a workbook around the first round and the second round that we have going in. So Nicole, whenever you listen into it, you can always go back and there'll be like a workbook this next round with it as well. So make sure you sign up, make sure you get into this. I cannot wait to see. It's all about the energy you got for sure. Yeah, I cannot wait to see all the beautiful faces that are going to be in this round, because the first round of this course, I had a Bob Proctor coach, I had a homeopath, and both of those people actually, they had been in the gene key world for a long time and they had known about the gene keys, but they're like, hey, there's something about the way that you talk about them and the different way that you see them that I'm like, I got to learn more about this kind of stuff. But I also had people that were brand spanking new to the gene keys, that were like brand specialists, and just people that were like downright curious of how to read these gene keys. So all different walks of life are welcome into this course, but really at the core of it, like, you're just bringing the very best version of yourself forward, and you're learning about all of the things that are going to help you to lead a happier, more fulfilled life through these gene keys. So like I said, with that spin of business on it, but I am so glad, Nicole. I will send you that link as soon as we are done here. And I hope that you guys have the most beautiful day. Bye-bye. Thank you. Thank you for joining me. If you are seeing this, whether it is today, whether it is next week, this is going to be a continuing course that I host. And I love talking about the gene keys in a way that's different, in a way that just sparks your creative engines whenever it comes to creating content, whenever it comes to working with clients, whenever it comes to how you show up on video. Like, everything changes once you know what your strengths are and how to utilize those strengths. And so there is a link in my bio. You go sign up for Decode Your Keys. Right now, currently, it is on pre-sale, and we will begin, I think it's September 18th is when class actually begins, but make sure you sign up, get that pre-sale. And also, you get instant access to round one. All right, bye-bye.